You're listening to the Daily Mishnah Podcast with Benedict.
The last chapter of Ketubot is related to the subject of Ketubot, but it just seems out of place in some way because it's no longer related to, if you like, thematically in subject matter order, but it's related to two dayanim, two judges, one called Admon and one called Hanan. And Admon and Hanan made various rulings, which, whether or not they're accepted in the halakha, are nevertheless preserved in the Mishnah. A really interesting example of how the Mishnah preserves argumentation, even if it doesn't necessarily agree. And we'll see sometimes the halakha goes with Admon and Hanan, and sometimes it doesn't. But today it's going to go with Hanan. Let's have a look at the Mishnah. There are two judges of gezelot, of robberies. And by the way, there is a version of the Mishnah that reads gezerot, judges of, let's say, decrees or ordinances. Well, we're not sure which one, but anyway, Kaufman has gezelot, robberies, so we're going to go with robberies. There were two judges of robberies. Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. Admon, one was called Admon. Hanan ben Avishalom. The other one was called Hanan ben Avishalom. Hanan omer shnei devarim, but Admon omer shiva. Hanan actually stated two rulings, and Admon stated 7. So we're going to learn these as we go through the chapter. But we're going to start with Hanan. Mi shehalach lo li medinat hayam ve'ishto tovat mezono. Hanan omer tishava b'sof ve'lo tishava b'tchila. Let's say a man went abroad. He went to a country beyond the sea. Ve'ishto tovat mezono, and his wife claims maintenance. So this is not a man who's dead. And there's no suggestion, by the way, that he's divorced either. He's just gone off. He's absent. And of course, he's obliged to pay maintenance he's obliged to maintain his wife under the ketubot. So his wife claims maintenance, and of course, she would like to be able to sell or dispose of items in his household in order to pay for her maintenance, because she's still at home, she's in control. So we could say it's analogous to the situation of a widow who's managing her deceased husband's estate. And we've looked at this halakha before. The Hanan says she must take an oath at the end. I.e., now perhaps, we're not sure what the end is. Perhaps when her husband comes back to assure him that she hasn't misappropriated anything in the house. Or perhaps at the end, if he turns out to have died, maybe at that point she has to take an oath to his heirs. We're not sure, but Hanan says an oath at the end, but not at the beginning. In other words, to get initial permission, she can sell off assets from her husband's property to pay for her maintenance without first going to the Beit Din and declaring that her husband has run off and has left her without any resources. And Hanan is not going to be unchallenged. So the sons of the high priests had a different view. So there must have been a different Beit Din in Jerusalem. And we're getting some insight right now into sort of different kinds of Batei Din. This must be before the destruction of the temple. The sons of the high priests are, they're a cohort of lawmakers now. So this is before the destruction. So they disagreed. Ve'amru, and they said, Tishava b'tchila uvasot. They said she must take an oath both at the beginning and at the end. Essentially, before taking possession of the belongings of her husband, she has to go to the court and take an oath that he really has left her destitute. Amar Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas. Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas agreed. Amar Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas kedivrehem. He agreed with their words. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Yafei Amar Hanan, Lo Tishava Eila Basof. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Hanan has spoken well, she need only take an oath at the end. So he's speaking up actually for the agency of this woman to do as she needs to do. And interestingly, we feel already that there's some time lap here, because he must be speaking this is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai of Yavne, so he must be speaking after the destruction. And the Bar Tanura, by the way, just confirms the halacha kamotzu, that is to say the Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the halacha goes according to him, i.e. goes according to him and to Hanan. But then he makes he clarifies, specifically after 3 months from the husband departing, they assign maintenance to the wife. So it sounds as if the Bar Tanura is quoting from the Gemara. So it sounds like the Gemara is just pedaling back very, very gently on this and saying, hang on, guys, no oath is required, but she does have to wait for 3 months. Poskim mazonot isha, im tiva mazonot, if she claims maintenance. Aval kotem zman, but not before this time. Shechazaka ein adam maniach beito reikan ve'otzi, because there's a presumption that a person doesn't just leave his house completely empty and walk off. There must be something in the house for her to provide for herself with. So the Gemara, if you like, pedals back a little bit on the halacha, but the halacha basically follows Hanan. The wife can take possession of what is required without going to the Beit Din first. Now, what if in the same situation someone else supports this woman? What about a man who goes to a country beyond the sea and someone else supports his wife? Someone else starts giving his wife money. Hanan Omer ibed et ma'otav. Hanan says he's lost his money. In other words, he doesn't have any claim as a creditor on the husband. Perhaps the husband was at fault, but some guy who provides for a woman in need doesn't create a claim on the husband in that way. The sons of the high priests differed from him, and they said, he should take an oath as to how much he spent, and he should recover it. So they're taking this part of the man who spent money. What the connection is with their previous ruling is not quite clear. But the rest of the Mishnah is the same. It's going to be carbon copy. Amar Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas. Kedivrehim. Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas agreed with their ruling. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Yafeh Amar Hanan. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Hanan has spoken well. Hiniach ma'otav al keren hatzvi. This guy, Hanan, has spoken well. This guy has put his money on the horn of a deer. What does it mean to put your money on the horn of a deer? I think Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is saying, guys, if you give money away without making proper documentary arrangements to get it back, it's a bit like pinning something onto the horn of an animal which can run really, really fast. You pin something on the horn of a deer, you will never get it back. The deer will just run away. And you should know that. You should absolutely know that and beware. So, given that you should know that and beware, you have no legal claim on the husband.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Daily Mishnah Podcast with Benedict.